This is what's happening and why astrology for June 2023, where we go through the aspects, the transits and the moon phases, a bit of astro geekery and some big picture global astrology chucked in. If you want specifics on your zodiac sign, I do a monthly AstroDice forecast, so check that out at the start of each month. And thank you for your likes, follows, shares and subscribes. I really appreciate your support. So here we go. What's happening and why for June 2023? Last month there was some big planet action and some pretty volatile energy. Some of you might have survived by ducking under the covers and staying out of the drama, but others would have been caught in the crossfire whether they liked it or not. June 2023 sees the aftermath and the process of those things that got dug up. We start the month with a full moon in Sagittarius, 13 degrees. The Sun is conjunct Juno, the goddess of commitments, powerful partnerships, and a justified sense of entitlement. Facing off against the Sag moon, we might be looking at a lucky break. Sag is a really lovely, buoyant, bouncy energy, and there's a lot of enthusiasm with this full moon to name it, say it, take it, have it. It's yours. This might be bringing back something you've waited a long time for. It might finalise a long-standing disagreement, or you just might find that you get out of your own way and things flow in a more natural, more encouraging, more inspiring way. The day after that full moon, June the 5th, Venus moves from Cancer into Leo, 0 degrees. And the fire sign full moon activates Venus action because she is going to be spending ages in Leo right up through till October. So wherever you have Leo in your chart, you're going to be looking at things like self-worth and your relationships, how you get money, and even where you want peace, but sometimes found war. There's a nice harmony that flows with this, but one of the first things Venus is going to do is oppose Pluto. And this throws out an ultimatum or a bridge of no return. Venus opposite Pluto makes something that's been fun become quite dark or serious or incisive, penetrating. There's exposure with it and something, the surface peeling back so you can see the underlayer. When they work together, they really bring forward that treasure from the deep. And that can come in the form of money or an inheritance, a legacy. The other thing with this, Pluto's moving retrograde back into Capricorn, and it'll do that on June the 11th. So there is this sense of having to go back into the past and finalise something. There might be official paperwork, there might be some sort of stamp of authority that's required, or facing a deal breaker in a relationship. But somehow your feeling of self-worth and self-respect is what's driving this. If something isn't living up to your deep truth, it's time to cut it loose. And we've got a bit of support from Mercury, who is in Taurus, moving into Gemini on June the 12th, sending a little zap of positive support to the situation that's building up around here with Venus. This opens the way for better conversations, negotiation on what you thought was not negotiable, and it helps you penetrate into the information you need. This little link is kind of psychic and prickly, and even if you feel that your back is against the wall, there will be some sense of knowing or some signal, some coincidental information that can drop through and help you reach this end point. And with Juno on the Sun and Mercury linking up to Pluto, you will be questioning what's worth keeping and if you're better off without it. By June the 15th, we've got the really big super duper transit of the month, and it's Sedna, the goddess of the oceans, making a historic move into Gemini. Last time Sedna changed signs was 1965, and last time she was in Gemini was 11,400 years ago. So you can see why it's a bit of a big deal. It signals a shift in frequency. She sets imagination off. She's spacey. She digs up things from the bottom of the ocean, and she sets the climate and the weather into extreme levels. Sedna's move into Gemini is heralding a paradigm shift in the world of communications, connections, the way we live in neighbourhoods, what we call family, the way we learn, the way we speak, language that we use. Her story is one of long journeys, always seeking to find a deeper meaning and purpose in life. And that can be a spiritual journey just as much as it can be a literal journey with Sedna. But every time she enters a new chapter, she kind of has to hit rock bottom before she's transformed and transported into the new. I've got some other videos on Sedna if you want to know more about her story and why this shift is so historic. The other thing supporting Sedna's birth into Gemini is Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, is already there waiting for her to catch her. And she is also in this beautiful trine energy with Pluto. It means that even embarking on big journeys into the unknown, and ultimately that means the journey into death and facing your fears, Sedna's pulling on this life force. So even when you're down in the underworld or on the bottom of the sea, you've got a sense of which way is up. She'll spend the next 40 years in Gemini, but there's a whole bunch of other reasons why moving into an air sign is particularly crucial at this time of her orbit around the Earth. After this ripple in the matrix, Saturn's over here in Pisces. And Saturn is a planet that likes rules and foundation and structure and a chain of command. But in Pisces, none of that really works. Saturn has to get lateral. It has to allow imagination. It has to allow compassion and humanity. June the 18th, Saturn moves retrograde in Pisces, further dissolving those boundaries and the rules and what we thought was set in place. Things get muddy. New structures can be built and moulded and kept a bit flexible to adjust. Again, it puts the pressure on you mutable signs, Gems, Pisces, Sag and Virgos, to be adaptable, to be versatile, to retrace your footsteps and regain your footing. June 18 is also the time that the moon has moved from Sag all the way round to here in Gemini, 26 degrees, the new moon. And where the full moon activated the Venus energy, the new moon is activating a bit of dwarf planet energy. Juno, our planet of commitment, is conjunct the sun and moon. Neptune's over here in Pisces at 27 degrees. And Ceres, the dwarf planet of abundance and cycles, of food supply, of Mother Earth, is over here at the end of Virgo, and so forming a T-square at the new moon. T-squares set up a three-way argy-bargy for the same piece of ground. And sometimes they can work harmoniously and share and collaborate, and sometimes there's a bit of push and pull, with maybe one section being squeezed out and erupting or releasing what's been hidden underneath. In this situation, what we've got is Juno's sense of entitlement and commitment being dissolved or watered down by Neptune, and a renegotiation of what's available. New information might come through, or your allegiance and loyalty might shift. In the big picture, Ceres opposite Neptune squaring Juno does have a feeling of lost opportunity, an abundance of water, or a drought. There also might be in this new moon phase a sense of disappointment, or where you've idealised or put someone on a pedestal. And perhaps that's around mother figures, strong women, even a childlike way that you feel you deserve something. Some of you may find that you have a Juno personality come into bat. And Juno is the queen of heavens. She's the boss lady. So I do expect somewhere someone is putting their foot down. By the 24th, Ceres has moved into Libra, 0 degrees, and that means she's in the playground with Sedna and Pluto, all making a harmonious aspect to each other, a grand trine. There's a bit of symbolism in this one. Ceres and Pluto have been in big negotiations before. Just a small matter. Ceres' brother, Pluto, kidnapped her daughter and held her hostage in the underworld. Ceres went nuts, turned the world to winter, and eventually Pluto came round and negotiated. Ceres' daughter was Persephone, but Sedna has a really similar theme of underworld journeys, abduction, victimhood, and eventually transforming into a wondrous goddess of new life. So the fact that these guys are linked up in a grand trine, I think takes us back to Venus negotiating with Pluto in a place that was previously unnegotiable. Although Ceres is battling with Neptune here, this trine kind of gets things through the back door. It gives a lot of strength and resilience and an innate sense of that just propels you forward into the unknown. And we need a bit of that strength and resilience because this final part of June has a bit of explosive exposure, a few shocks, a few 180s. The sun moves into Cancer on the 22nd. And on June 26, Mars, who is in Leo, runs across a tripwire being set up by Uranus over here in Taurus. Unfortunately, they square each other. And Mars square Uranus, both in fixed signs, Leo and Taurus, is a bit of a bubble burster. Mars wants to have action, and Uranus is very stubborn and very electrifying and quite revolutionary. So when they get together, it's like a rebellion, an upheaval, a short, sharp burst that dislodges the ground underneath your feet. And there may be real brutality with this. The goddess Pallas is here with Mars during this square. Like Mars, Pallas is a goddess of war, but where Mars is masculine, brute force, direct, aggressive, Pallas is considered, skillful, intelligent, and uses alternative forms rather than brute force. When they're together, squaring Uranus, it may be that the normal rules of engagement have been thrown out the window, or where justice is coming down, where there has been brutality. Pallas is there when there's corrupt authority figures, where there's war crimes, where there's injustice, and when essentially where there's been fighting and enough is enough. You fixed signs have got the most to gain and in many ways the most to lose from this one. Where we started the month with this opposition between Venus and Pluto closing the door in your face or forcing you into a harder line of negotiation, these guys pick up the pace and give you the option of perspective and correction. June Cancerians are also going to find things a bit wobbly, potentially being blindsided by Mars and Uranus clashing. And although it might not be happening to you directly, you want to take a bit of extra care for things like accidents or running your mouth off or getting the wrong end of the stick and jumping to conclusions. By that time of the month, Mercury will also have moved into Cancer and pulls the conversation where it may have been abstract ideas down into a place where it needs to be looked at and talked about with other people. For those June Cancerians, this is also the time that you might want to mouth off. And it could end up being a bit more controversial than you anticipated. So watch who you're rushing in to defend or protect, and if it's leaving you open to attack yourself. For the time being, Venus is chasing Mars, and early July they catch up and both square Uranus. So these little eruptions, this unpredictability, this side swipe, it's all an indication of something bigger that really needs your attention. It needs to be expressed in a healthy way. It may even need a bit of exposure and justice to drive it. What you thought was a shut door or a deal breaker gets a process behind it, a restructure. And by early July, we've kind of elevated to a new level based on the knowledge that we got through June. I'm Meryl Key, and this is my mystery school. Find me on Instagram at my_mystery school or on my website www.merylkey.com. Thanks for watching.